Hello everyone, my name is Leslie. I'm the owner, founder, and product creator of Evolved Essentials. So today I'm going to be talking about why I started my Etsy shop. I started my shop because I wanted to sell remineralizing tooth powder on Etsy. I started making my own natural toothpaste back in maybe 2009 or 2010 after a very traumatizing experience at the dentist. And it was like a misunderstanding that led to them drilling my tooth when there probably wasn't a cavity there, and it was just a whole mess and very traumatizing. And once I got home from that, I was determined to not have to go to the dentist again. So I researched all about preventing and healing cavities at home and to see if that was even possible. And I learned so much about cavities and so much about the foods to help prevent cavities, and things like fermented cod liver oil and bone broth, oil pulling, the Winston Price diet. And it was during that time that I also discovered remineralizing toothpaste. So I was trying out all that stuff at that time, and I felt like it was working because my teeth felt very strong at the time. But I eventually stopped taking the cod liver oil because I felt like it was causing me to lose a lot of weight, and I didn't think that was a good thing since I'm already pretty skinny. So I stopped with that, and I eventually got too lazy to keep making the bone broth, and then I did oil pulling on and off. But the thing that stuck around was the remineralizing toothpaste. So I continued using that for years, and then I had moved to Korea and I was still making my own toothpaste. But then by the time I was getting ready to leave, I was planning on doing a 6-month trip around Southeast Asia, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to carry enough of my toothpaste to last me my whole trip. So I learned about tooth powder. I was like, this could work. So I just made up enough of the tooth powder, which was just my toothpaste recipe without the water and the oils. When I had made that, I had given some to a friend who was also going to be traveling, and she said, you should sell this stuff. And I was like, maybe I should, because I always wanted to start my own Etsy shop after seeing how well my sister's shop did. Shout out to the Bee Stop. She sells waist beads on Etsy. So her shop was doing very well, and I was like, I was coming home and I wouldn't have a job at the time because I hadn't searched for anything, but I figured it might be a good time to start up something like that once I get back home. So I went on my trip, and the tooth powder pretty much lasted me pretty much most of it, although it did kind of start running out after a while towards the end. So by the time I got to Thailand, that's pretty much on like the last bits of it. So it was there that I had discovered foaming powder toothpaste. So I didn't know it when I bought it. I just saw it was like, I think most of the information was in Thai, and it just pretty much, I think it said it was natural. It looked natural from the pictures they put on it. So I just picked up that one because I liked that it was a powdered toothpaste. And so when I got back to where I was staying, I brushed my teeth with it, and I was so shocked to see that it was a foaming tooth powder. And prior to that, I had never experienced anything like that before in my life. So that gave me an idea that, maybe I could make my remineralizing tooth powder foaming when I get back home. So when I came back home, I searched online to see if there was any type of foaming powder toothpaste. Since I figured it's so easy to find this in Thailand, it should have been so easy to find out here. But I was wrong. I couldn't find anything online about it at all. Couldn't even find that brand I had used in Thailand. So that was just more motivation to make my tooth powder a bubbly or foaming tooth powder. So I searched and researched different ingredients to use to make it foaming that weren't harmful, and that was powder, that was natural. After I got all my ingredients together, I began experimenting with different combinations and with the flavors and how to flavor it and how much of each ingredient I should put into what, and developing the packaging. And by the end of all that, maybe it took me like 7 to 8 months before I posted my first product on Etsy. So once I got all that together, I finally opened my Etsy shop. And when I opened it, I was only selling one item. So my shop literally only had one item. I know usually they recommend you post like 20 items when you first open your shop, but it's like there's no way I will have enough stuff to sell to post 20 items. So for maybe a good 7 months, my shop only had one item on it, my Cinnamint Remineralizing Tooth Powder. And that did pretty good for a one item shop for the time being. I mean, it's still growing very slowly. But eventually somebody had messaged me asking if I sold just a mint flavored one because they were buying it for their friend who was allergic to cinnamon. So at the time I had made the just mint one, and then I was also experimenting with like a turmeric based tooth powder because I had learned that turmeric can help whiten teeth, so that might be a good addition. So I also came up with the Gold Dust Orange Spice tooth powder I sell. That is a turmeric based tooth powder. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got my Etsy shop started. I recently started selling soap on there too. Currently I have 2 that I sell now. One is vegan and then one is a goat milk soap. So, and learning that whole process took me a lot of time to feel comfortable with a bar that I felt like I could sell. So it took me about a year or so before I listed my first soap bar. From when I started experimenting and learning about the whole soap making process till finally coming up with something, plus the curing time, because it takes close to 2 months for a bar or the loaves of soap to cure for them to be safe to use. So that's a very time consuming learning process, so that took a while to get up and going. So now in my shop I sell tooth powders and soaps, and I think for the time being that may just be the extent of it. But I've been enjoying being an Etsy shop owner. It feels very nice to have something that you are making yourself and sending out into the world and people coming back and rebuying it, and it's like I'm just making this here in my home, but it's really helping out somebody else all the way across the other side of the country, and they're really enjoying it, and knowing that just makes me very happy. So yeah, that's pretty much the story behind my Etsy shop. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to join me on this journey, please subscribe and stick around. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.